Hi, I'm Dan Antonelli, president of KickCharge Creative, author of Branded, Not Blanded. Today's episode on Branded or Blanded, we're going to be talking about the rebrand that we did for my good friend Jason Buehler from Buehler Heating and Air Conditioning in Jacksonville, Florida. So really interesting case study for this one because a lot of things are different than what you normally hear me talk about, especially as it relates to last name brands. So let's get into it. So the original brand name for the current company called Buehler Heating and Air Conditioning was Air Source America. So I always laughed at this name because I always felt like it sounded like it would be an awesome name if he sold oxygen supply to people. I really don't love the name, so I'm gonna give that a 2. The problem that Jason also experienced with this is no one could actually remember his brand name, but they always remembered his last name. Obviously, we have the relationship with the movie that everyone's familiar with, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Air Source America, not a great name. Is it very memorable? We've got kind of the generic clip art happening here. I don't know that this is something, oh my God, I see this and I totally remember it. So I'm gonna give that a 2. Brand colors, he's got basically black, red, and blue. Not very unique, not very ownable. So again, I'm gonna give that a pretty low score on that for 2. The logo itself, like I mentioned, just using the actual clip art here, and then there is no hierarchy of the actual brand name and the clarifiers below. So everything is kind of just given the same priority. So with that, again, not really well executed on that. So I'm gonna say 2. And then the vehicle wrap, listen, obviously suffering from that white van syndrome that I talk about all the time. However, that being said, we do not have legibility problems. I can read it. I can read it probably fairly well from a distance. And I could probably get a rough sense of what they do by obviously focusing on the clarifier there. So I'm gonna score that a little bit better at maybe a 3. That gives us a total of 11. That probably puts us somewhere kind of over here, I would say, roughly. And then let's talk about the rebrand here and obviously the renaming. So this is one of those very unique situations where it made sense to actually have a last name. Generally speaking, that's not a good idea. Very difficult to assign promise to a last name brand. Very difficult to also connect a visual. In this particular case, he had the benefit of having a last name that was associated with something that people knew, that people remembered, right? So when we thought about how we were gonna really come up with this brand idea, we had this notion of this icon here, and then the way to connect the last name with what they do. And that was the integration of this tagline, "Stay cooler with Buehler." Okay, so now we're really speaking to the idea of what Buehler can do, trying to establish our own identity. So for the naming on this, I'm gonna say it's an 8. And again, the reason why I'm not giving it higher, mainly because of the spelling. It's challenging to a certain extent to spell it 100% correctly all the time because people may assume it's spelled like the movie, okay? As far as it being memorable, one of the really cool things about this is how simple the actual mascot is. And it's not even really a mascot per se, it's just kind of an icon that we developed to sort of reference the idea of, again, staying cooler. So he's got the sunglasses, very simply drawn, very easy to reproduce. And obviously there's a sense of nostalgia with the overall design as well. I really think this is one that stands out in his market. I have that as a 9. The brand colors using the dark navy with the teal and kind of that orange-ish type color, I think work really well. So very easy to own this particular brand. There aren't brand colors like this in his market, so I have that as a 9. The logo itself, again, we did some tweaks to the lettering, some customization to how these letters look. We were trying to, again, evoke more of that nostalgia-based type of emotion, type of feeling. You'll notice that the lettering has a little bit of a bounce to it off the baseline. That again is creating almost like a mood by doing that with the typography. It's making it a little bit more lighthearted, a little bit more fun, which goes in line with the keeping of it. So logo itself, I have that as a 9. And then the vehicle wrap itself, I really love this vehicle wrap. We've got great legibility for the brand name. We've got the tagline that's integrated right in between here, so it sits right in that negative space perfectly. And then we've got what we do as far as our service line, air conditioning, great contrast there. And then we just added some of these simple marks that you see here. We added some of these stars that are indicative of more of that style from the 60s. I have this as a 10 here, and then I think overall that gets us to a 45. And some of the really cool things about this is just how well it has really worked to become sticky within the community. This is some of the collateral that we did. You can see how everything really matches very well. You could see how we did it on some of his collateral here that's being mailed out to different customers. This is the stationery, yard signs, and uniforms. And then these are, like I said, these are some of the results. So in 2018, we had 2.4 million in revenue. In 2023, up to 18. One of the beautiful things here again is the ad spend. So how are we doing that? How are we growing from 2.4 to $18 million on a 5% ad spend? Everyone within the community has seen the trucks. It's resonated with them. It's living in their minds. So when they need service, they're not typing in air conditioning repair at Jacksonville, Florida. They're typing in Buehler Air because they remembered that particular name. And you could see the evidence of that by looking here as far as how many branded keyword searches they had. This is looking at last July, and they had 1,500 people that simply typed in his name. Like, imagine that. Imagine if all the people within 5 miles of your office knew the name of your company when they needed service. Then you would be less reliant on Google, less reliant on paid advertising, because you're gonna show up high for that branded keyword search essentially for free. And this is the other beautiful thing too, average service tickets. So in 2018, 6,100, and we've basically doubled what the average ticket is today. People believe there's a reason why they should be paying a premium for his service. He looks the part. He delivers an amazing service for his customers. I think they have something like several thousand 5-star reviews. So you know everything that he does as soon as he rings the doorbell, delivers an amazing experience. Now the brand matches that, and that's why he's doing so well, and that's why the ad spend is so low. So again, one of our most successful brands, working with Jason and his team. Always a pleasure. He's such a good guy, a genuine person that is really doing so much for the HVAC community, and we're just so grateful to be able to work with him. So thanks for watching today's episode, and we'll see you soon.